I'm a woman, and it's quite sad that a lot of times I have to think twice, even for the simplest of actions. The case of Sarah Everard has shaken me, as it has done a lot of other women and a lot of other people. Now, this brings to question the issue of women's safety on the whole and the role that both men and women can play in this. After the horrific rape and murder of Sarah Everard and after her body was found, a lot of people who were doing these protests were holding this placard which read, "She was just walking home." Simple enough statement, but it kind of says that whether you're walking home or whether you're not walking home, going somewhere else, or doing something else, might probably either justify or not justify what happened to you. I think back to a lot of times that I have walked home alone, not just at 9 o'clock, but much later, 10, 11. I remember once even at 3 at night. And I don't think I owe an explanation to anybody regarding why I was late at that time. And at the same time, it does not warrant anybody judging me, saying why you were out so late. The only thing I can do is to be responsible for my own actions, right? I'm an individual. So before I'm a woman, I'm an individual. And I am completely responsible for the actions that I do, for the decisions that I take, for the choices that I make. In no way whatsoever do I want to deal with the burden of somebody else's actions. And I shouldn't have to change my actions thinking of what might happen or thinking of what the reaction from somebody else might be, thinking of what men might do if I am out in the streets late at night. It's wrong. It's not fair. It's unjust. What's even more appalling is the fact that we are having these discussions in today's world, which is supposed to be so very progressive, so very modern, and yet half of the population, the women, have to fight for the basic right of having the freedom to move as they want, when they want, where they want. Why is there this huge burden of being judged or of being fearful for even the simplest of actions? So, does that mean that if Sarah Everard was not walking home, if she was, I don't know, for example, say she was going to a club or going somewhere else, which is supposed to be immoral in the perspective of the society, does that justify what happened to her? Absolutely not. Whether a woman is walking home, going on a walk somewhere on her own, meeting someone, meeting a friend, traveling, no matter what the circumstances, nothing, absolutely nothing justifies or, to begin with, gives the right to any person to violate her. Now, this is exactly the reason why when a lot of people on Twitter were saying that, this is being over dramatic or that this is fear mongering, I really do not agree with that. Because at the base of it, come to think of it, you're still fighting for the basic right of freedom of movement. How is that being dramatic and how is that fear mongering? And yes, I know all men are not the same. 200%, there is no doubt in that. But the problem comes in the fact that until a serious incident happens, one really cannot judge what kind of a person or what kind of a man one is. So yes, not all men are the same, but what are the men who are not the same actually doing to, I don't know, spread awareness? Basically, the least that one can do, this applies to both men and women, is to stop judging women. Stop applying moral codes, immoral codes on another woman without knowing her life circumstances, without knowing what she thinks, without knowing her experiences, without knowing the choices that she has made, without knowing her day to day life, without knowing the details of her life and her thoughts and her emotions and what she's going through or what she wants to do in the future. Why is this stamp of judgment so easily put on a woman? Why? Just the basic fact that me or any other woman for that matter has to think twice. before taking any action, even the simplest of action. I might have to go to the grocery at 10 in the night, and I'll have to think twice about it. Maybe there's an emergency, maybe I need medication, and I'll have to go myself and get it at 11 or 12 in the night. What then? I want to live in a society where, yes, I have the freedom and I do not have to be afraid of what might happen to me, and I shouldn't have to design my life based on what other people might think or do, or based on fear. Basically, I don't want to live a life based on fear. So that makes me think, is equal society really that much of a myth that we as humanity haven't been able to achieve it even after all these years? Why is such a basic thing still such a huge topic for debate? You know, you might even actually go one step further in the debate and say it's not just men but even women who are criminals or whatever. Yes, of course, that's when you look at humans devoid of gender, when you look at humanity and you kind of see between the good and the bad and how psychology works and blah blah blah. That's a whole other issue. But here we're talking specifically about the choices that a woman has to make, or the choices that a woman has to sacrifice for simple freedom, for simple safety, which is a basic right. The other fact to remember here is that it's not just about being in a lonely location, which might make you susceptible to crimes such as this, but even with people who are in crowded locations and incidents that happen there, it's not okay. It's not acceptable. There was this one time when I was in a queue at the bank. This happened last year when we were in lockdown, so we were queued up outside on the street. It was on the high street. I was in the queue to go to the bank. There was this guy behind me who started to talk, and somehow by the way he spoke and what he spoke, it did not make me feel comfortable, and I neglected him. I ignored him, but he did not stop. He did not stop. I went into the bank. Of course, he also came in when it was his turn, and you know, we had this 2 meter distance or whatever, and he was right there behind me. I finished my work. I went out. He did not do whatever he had to do in the bank. He followed me straight out. In spite of me ignoring, in spite of me telling him that I was not interested and I had to go and I was really not okay with being spoken to like this, he did not stop. He did not stop until I approached the security at another shop a few meters down the street. That's when I turned back and he was gone. So the idea that, oh, you know, women shouldn't go alone into lonely spaces or alone late at night, it really doesn't hold good, because this can happen anytime. And it's not just about violent crimes like rape and murder. It is also everyday transgressions like catcalling, online harassment, online bullying, following a woman. Even these are violent acts. They might seem very simple and harmless, but they are not harmless. They're extremely harmful, and it is not okay. It is not okay. Why should a woman have to go through all this? Why does it make it okay for any woman, no matter who she is, what age she is, what profession she is in, what she is doing? None of it justifies absolutely any act of violence against her. I honestly feel that no matter how many laws we bring in, no matter how many acts the parliament passes or whatever it is, until there is a change in perception, until there is a change in psychology, this is not going to change. This will be a rampant problem. Unfortunately, it's a blot on humanity, and as I said, it's shameful that even in today's age, this is even a matter of debate. It's ridiculous. As a woman myself, I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to feel sorry for myself or for any of the other women out there. And I refuse to give up on my freedom, on my basic freedom, just because something bad might happen. That's a very unhealthy way to live. That's a very unhealthy kind of a society, and it is not acceptable, and it is not okay in any which way. As they said, we're now going to reclaim the streets. These streets are as much mine as they are anybody else's. I have all the freedom to go where I want, when I want, And as I said, I am accountable for my choices and my actions, and those actions are not going to be dictated by fear or by what might happen, what somebody else might do to me. I refuse to live like that. And I really hope that society becomes healthier, society becomes safer. It's high time, come on. It's ridiculous, as I said, that we're still talking about these matters. So to the men out there who are asking what can we do to make women feel safe, you can start by calling out every single act of violence that you see, not just the big ones, but even the small little incidents in day-to-day life, whether it is in your family, among your friends, or even with people outside. Wherever you see something which doesn't look right, speak up. I think that is the easiest and the most simple thing that not just men but even women can do. So, yeah, I really hope we will live in a different society and that manifests much sooner, much sooner than what we hope for. Sarah Everard, rest in peace, and I really hope no other woman and no other family has to go through what you had to go through. Until next time, take care.